Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you a book haul. It's been a couple months since I've done a book haul. The last one I did was for my birthday. I got some books for my birthday at the end of March, and since then I have accumulated some more. So in this stack I do have some that were birthday gifts that were sent to me after I had already filmed that book haul, so I want to talk about those. Some are books that I have already read, but I want them for my shelves for rereading purposes. And then the rest are, you know, your typical books that I have on my TBR that I want to read. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so the first little bit I want to talk about are the books that I got as birthday gifts. These came in the mail after my birthday, and my dear bookish friend Bobby sent these books to me for my birthday. She got me the entire box set of the Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. And it's so funny that she did this because right before that I had mentioned that I wanted to dive into this series because I've only read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it was a long time ago when I was in middle school. But I've heard that this is a great series to really dive into and dig deeper into, that there's a lot of interesting themes surrounding religion and things in these books. So yeah, I'm excited about this. Now, I know this particular box set has them in chronological order, like of the story, not in the order they were published. So what I'm gonna ask you guys out there, you C.S. Lewis scholars, which is the preferred way to read these? Should I read them in this order where it starts with The Magician's Nephew? Or should I read them starting with publication, which would be, I would be starting with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So let me know because I'm curious which is the better way to read them. And then the other thing that Bobby got me, this wasn't necessarily for me for my birthday, but she sent them to me for my daughter, which is so sweet of her to think of my kids when sending bookish gifts. It's so sweet. But I mentioned the first book in this series because we already started it. We're actually currently reading it, but it's the first 3 books in the Warriors series by Aaron Hunter, which I believe Aaron Hunter is actually a collection of authors, but I'm not sure who they are. But yeah, anyway. So the first 3 books in this series are Into the Wild, Fire and Ice, and Forests of Secrets. And this is basically a series about feral cats living in this area. And there's different clans of cats. So for example, there's like Shadow Clan and Thunder Clan. And they are sort of at war, at odds with each other. They're very, like most cats, they're very territorial and trying to protect their territories. And there's like different levels within the clans. You know, they have a leader, and then they have people that are training to become warriors, which is what our main character is. He was what they call a kitty pet, which is a house cat, who goes out into the wild and becomes a part of this clan and is training now to become a warrior. And the warriors basically protect the clan and hunt for food and things like that. And so it's a fun series, especially if you like cats. It's fun. There's a lot to get into with it. I'm still a little bit unsure about it, but my daughter's loving it. So, and the series is made for children, so obviously if she likes it, then they're doing something right. So those were the books that I got as gifts from my friend Bobby. So thank you very much, Bobby. Yeah, we are so appreciative of these books, and I can't wait to dive into them. Okay, so the next stack, let's see. How do I want to do this? I'm gonna separate and do the ones I've already read. I'll do those last. So, okay, here we go. So the first one on the stack I want to talk about is, speaking of Bobby, we decided we're going to do a buddy read in August. And it's fun that I like that we chose to do this book, because the whole like reason that she and I have become such good friends, it started with our buddy read of Gone with the Wind 2 years ago. Back then, Bobby was a subscriber. I mentioned I wanted to read Gone with the Wind. I was going to read Gone with the Wind. She asked if she could read it with me. And we spent it took us, because we took our time reading it, we probably only read about 20 to 30 pages a day. So it took us a while to get through the book. So we had a lot of time to get to know each other. And now we're like really good friends. And so I really like that we are kind of taking it back to another Civil War story, and we're gonna buddy read North and South by John Jakes. This is the first book in a trilogy that deals with the Civil War, and I don't really know much more about it other than I think it deals with two families and they're clashing during this very tumultuous time. And obviously I also know it from the TV miniseries that came out, I think it was in the 80s. I've never actually watched the whole thing, but my mom was like obsessed and taped it off the TV. She had a huge thing for Patrick Swayze, definitely, and he's in the miniseries. And so that's all I know about it, is that it's like, it was made into a miniseries, Patrick Swayze, and it's about the Civil War. So we're gonna be buddy reading this in August, so I decided to pick up a copy, so I'm ready for a buddy read. So the next two books that I wanna talk about are ones that I picked up because of events going on right now in our country with the Black Lives Matter movement, the protests, the murder of Black Americans, and when hearing about these things, decided I really need to educate myself more. I need to learn how to be a better ally. And so I feel like being a bookish person, the first way I can do that is by reading about these topics. And so these are two books that I heard a lot of people talk about, and one of them especially I picked up because there's going to be a buddy read of it in a few days, actually. So the first one though that I picked up is White Fragility by Robyn D'Angelo. I actually just started this. I've only read the introduction. But this is a book written by a white woman, and it's about how white people can basically come to terms with their white privilege. And for me, I think that it's really important to read a book like this because I think oftentimes we as white people don't realize that we have privilege. We are very isolated from racism. We don't face racism on a daily basis like Black people do. And often our reaction to talking about race and racism is to get kind of defensive and to deny what's going on because it makes us uncomfortable. Even if you feel like you are not a racist, you might be taking part in things or being silent, which is also a kind of a form of the problem, you know, it's a part of the problem. And this book basically is just helping white people like myself, I'm saying white people like I'm not white, helping people like myself come to terms with this whole concept, because it's something that we are a part of whether we realize it or not. And so it's about coming to terms with that, realizing, recognizing your white privilege, and then using it to be an anti-racist and to be more of an ally. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. I'm gonna probably finish it in the next couple of days because it's not very long. It's under 200 pages. So yes, I will be reading this one. And then the other one that I picked up is because I can't remember who shared it, but there is a buddy read going on over on Instagram of this book, and I already have it all tabbed and ready. It starts on June 19th, and yeah, it's a buddy read. We're gonna read Stamped from the Beginning, The Definitive History of Racist Ideas in America by Ibram X. Kendi. So I will link, there are 3 hosts for the buddy read over on Instagram, and I will link them down below so you can go ahead and follow them if you want to take part. And they have broken it up so that the buddy read starts on June 19th or Juneteenth and goes into, I believe, the end of July. So it's broken up, it's very slow paced, which I think is great. I think it will make the material more digestible. And I think the first discussion is taking place on July 10th. So yeah, even if you don't start it right away, I think you can definitely have time to to pick up the book and get started. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. I feel like I need to learn more, and this is going to, I think, teach me a lot. So I know that both of these books have been really hard to get your hands on because a lot of people are reading them, but if you can, try to join in on the buddy read. I think it's going to be really eye-opening, and I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so then the next couple books I have are ones I haven't read and want to read. The first one is called Wicked Girls, a novel of the Salem Witch Trials by Stephanie Hemphill. And this is it's a book about the Salem Witch Trials, but it's told in verse, which I think is interesting. I haven't read very many books that are told in verse, but I always think it's a very cool way to tell a story. So yeah, I'm interested in the Salem Witch Trials, and I think I will probably save this book for the fall. It just seems kind of like a fall sort of book to read. But yeah, so I picked this one up, and then I picked up this short little horror novel called Your Favorite Band Cannot Save You by Scott Moore. And this one I just picked up because it sounded really fun. And I think this would be a great summer read because it's about this band that is on a tour, and they fill like the big stadiums and have like tons of fans, but they also have this very strange effect on their fans. And so the book is about this music blogger who basically starts to kind of follow the band as they tour across the US to figure out what it is about this band that is so charismatic. And maybe the lead singer has some sort of horrible secret. So yeah, it just sounds really fun, especially because typically in the summertime you have like the big music festivals going on. So I just thought that this would be really fun. I know this summer obviously a lot of them are canceled because of the coronavirus, but I just thought that this would be a cool, fun summer read. I picked up Text Me When You Get Home, The Evolution and Triumph of Modern Female Friendship by Kayleen Schaefer. This is about female friendships and the kind of evolution of female friendships, the good and the bad. It talks about how things like you tell your girlfriend when you're like out for the night and you're heading home, you tell each other like, text me when you get home to make sure you got home okay. Things like that, but also how women can be competitive with each other. They can be pretty catty and things like that. So it kind of looks at both sides, but I think for the most part, this is like a celebration of female friendships and how we as women need to stick together and raise each other up. So yeah, this just sounded like a good book to read. Okay, and then the last of this haul that is a book I haven't read yet. This one, I could not believe I found this. I was at the grocery store, and when I'm at the grocery store, I always browse through the book section just in case I come across something. And this time I came across this book in the bargain bin. It was for $5.97. And I couldn't believe it because this book has also like been really popular the past couple of months because of the pandemic. And it is called As Bright as Heaven by Susan Meisner. And this is a book about a historical fiction novel about the Spanish flu and how it affected, I believe this book takes place in Philadelphia, which was particularly hard hit during that pandemic. And so yeah, it follows that. And like I said, this was a popular book. I feel like a lot of people have been reading it because of its significance and relevance to what we're going through right now. So I couldn't believe that I found a copy in the bargain bin. It was just so exciting. Okay, so then the last little stack I have here are books that I've already read but want them for my shelves, either because I really enjoyed them or because I really want to reread them. And the first one is, again, I found it in the bargain bin at the grocery store, and I was like, I need this book for my shelves. I really enjoyed this book when I read it a couple years ago. And it's one that, even though it's like technically like a thriller or like a mystery, I think it is one that I would reread because it was very atmospheric, had some real creepy moments, and I just really liked it. And that is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. And again, I got this in the bargain bin for $5.97. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, so this is about a boarding school that is, in the present day, is abandoned, and a girl has been murdered there, her body has been found there. And so our main character, it was her sister who was found murdered, and she is basically kind of trying to investigate what happened to her sister and the relevance of that property that has been abandoned for years. And then it also goes back in time to when the boarding school was open and functioning, and some stuff that was going on there, and that there's a ghost that haunts the school, and it was a good read. It was definitely creepy. I remember I listened to the audiobook when I read it, and I remember it was when Hunter was still nursing, so he would get up through the night to eat, and I would listen to the audiobook while I nursed. And so I was sitting in like his dark room listening to this book, and there were like genuinely some parts that creeped me out where I was sitting in there in the dark like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. So it was really fun, and it's definitely a book that I want to revisit sometime. Okay, then the last 3 books I'm going to mention that I picked up were books that I've read, but they were years ago, and I really want to revisit them. They're all by Anne Rice. So the first 2 are the first 2 books in the Mayfair Witches trilogy, The Witching Hour and Lasher. I have Taltos on my shelves, but for some reason I don't think I ever had my own copies of these because I borrowed them from my mom. And then I bought the 3rd one and read the 3rd one. So I loved this series when I read it. It is so interesting. It's about a family, the Mayfairs, who are, every generation, this ghost, this kind of spirit attaches itself to one person. And that person has some sort of like gift or is like a witch, I guess you could say. And it's basically about that. And then it kind of turns into this whole, as the series progresses, it turns into this whole bigger sort of story. And I loved it. I loved it so much. So I really want to revisit it sometime because it has been a really long time since I've read these. So yeah, I picked up these 2 to, you know, even out the collection. So I have all 3 of them so that when I am ready to do the reread, I will have them. And then the last one that I picked up is it's not the last book anymore, but for a long time, it was the last book in the Vampire Chronicles, which is Blood Canticle. And honestly, like, I don't remember anything about this. I'm not even sure if I read this. That's how much I don't remember what it was about. But it is now there have been 2 newer books published in the Vampire Chronicles since this one, but for a long time, this was the last book. So, and like I said, I don't remember anything about this. And so I do eventually want to reread the entire Vampire Chronicles from start to finish. And so I want to just have this book to kind of like, again, round out my collection. This is one that I want to have to kind of have as the original Vampire Chronicles before she added on to it. So, like I said, no clue what this one's about. I'm assuming it has to do with Lestat because he is the main character. And yeah, I don't know. All right, guys, so those are all the books I've acquired in the last couple of months. Yeah, I've got some reading to do. So let me know down below if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if you remember, if you've read the Vampire Chronicles, what is this book about? Because I don't remember. Yeah. So, like I said, I will post the information down below for the stamped buddy read over on Instagram if you're interested in taking part. And yeah, that's all I have for today, guys. So I hope that you're having a wonderful week, and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.